Now jumping in to my next deep shot, I'll go ahead and throw out my wide receiver. It's another guy in the state of Texas. It is CeeDee Lamb for the Dallas Cowboys, and this one's not quite as deep of some of the other picks on this list. Right now, CeeDee Lamb is going as the wide receiver 41 around round 10 in most drafts. So he is in the double-digit rounds. He is later in your draft, and he's not like a last-round guy. But if you're getting CeeDee Lamb as your wide receiver 4, I think of all the guys that we're going to talk about today, CeeDee Lamb has the highest upside this season. He's an incredible rookie talent, first of all. He was my favorite wide receiver coming into this class. He goes to one of the best offenses in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. You can get him as your wide receiver 4 right now, which is just an absolute steal. You don't have to throw a rookie wide receiver into your lineup to start the season. You can draft him as your wide receiver 4 and have that luxury of waiting and seeing what this Cowboys offense looks like, seeing what his snap counts look like early on, seeing the rapport he builds with Dak Prescott, which I think will continue to build as the season goes on. And with CeeDee Lamb, the biggest thing that are scaring people away from this guy, everyone knows the offense, they love the offense, but they don't like the landing spot because of Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. And I think that's valid. I think that does cap some of the upside for CeeDee Lamb. But this is a stat that's been mentioned on just about every fantasy podcast I've heard talking about the Cowboys. Randall Cobb, who we just talked about, and Jason Witten vacated 166 targets in this Cowboys offense. I think a good chunk of those targets are going to go to CeeDee Lamb. And an interesting thing about this Dallas offense as well is that 67% of their snaps in 2019 came from 11 personnel. That's 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. So 2/3 of plays, they had 3 wide receivers on the field. That's just 11 personnel. That's not including spreading it out wide, things like that, where they might have 3 or 4 wide receivers. So Lamb should have the opportunity to see plenty of snaps in this offense. And if Cooper or Gallup miss any time, which Cooper was banged up a little bit last season, Gallup actually did miss a couple games. Lamb, to me, is an immediate top 20, top 24 wide receiver. He's right in that wide receiver 2 range. And we've also talked about this on the show before, Steph. There's a chance CeeDee Lamb comes in and by week 6, by week 8, he's just beating out Michael Gallup for snaps. I don't think he's just going to overtake Gallup and Gallup's going to ride the bench, but they could be kind of splitting that wide receiver 2 role and wide receiver 3 role, which is very, very valuable in Dallas. And this defense for Dallas is middle of the pack. They were decent last season, but they lost Byron Jones in free agency. They lost Robert Quinn in free agency, arguably their 2 best defensive players. So they're going to throw the ball a ton. It's a fun offense. Dak Prescott has a lot to prove, trying to get that long-term contract extension. So I love CeeDee Lamb this year. He's got a ton of upside, and as my wide receiver 4, that's exactly what I want, a guy who can win me a league.
I'm with you, man. CeeDee Lamb's upside is insane. Who's to say that he's not even beating out Amari Cooper in a year or two? Like, he could just take over as the clear one here. He was drafted with that pedigree. I mean, this Cowboys defense was in desperate need of a DB, and Jerry Jones took a wide receiver. And when they really didn't need one, like, that speaks to how valuable CeeDee Lamb is and how great everyone thinks that he's going to be.
Sure.
So, I mean, if it's true, if he really is the guy that they drafted him to be, he's going to be fantastic. He's absolutely a dynasty buy. We'll see how things shake out this year, but there is a world where, if a couple other guys bust her out, then CeeDee Lamb is taking over as the 2 or 3 there. Could see as high as 100 targets if things really do go his way. Not projecting that by any means, but it's in the range of outcomes.
I have him right now for 104 targets and right at 1,000 yards receiving. That's behind Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. So, I think there's a very fair chance he hits 100 targets as is. And if he's able to beat out Gallup for some snaps, I think the sky's the limit for CeeDee Lamb. Let me read you off some of the guys going around his ADP right now, Steph, and tell me if you would rather have CeeDee Lamb or any of these guys. It looks like Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, Darius Slayton, and Will Fuller are all in that ballpark. CeeDee Lamb or any of that guys on that list?
I think, man, this is tough. I think Slayton, just because there's not as much competition on that receiving core. There actually might be, now I'm thinking about it, with Evan Ingram, who was getting 10 targets a game when he was healthy and in the lineup. But give me Slayton there. Give me, what were some of the other names? Christian Kirk. I do like Christian Kirk just as another one. He's going to be the clear 2. He's
being forgotten about. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the clear deep name there. Deep option, deep threat receiver. So, it's just kind of fuzzy right now on what CeeDee Lamb's role is going to be. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. There is a world where he is the 2 and gets over 100 targets. There's also a world where I think CeeDee Lamb is kind of eased in. He's not used a ton. The game scripts aren't, super pass heavy. So, there's kind of both ends of the spectrum there. But give me Kirk and Slayton, but, compared to like the other names there, right? Will Fuller, I forget the other one you said, but
Jerry Jeudy. There were a lot of rookie wide receivers right in that ballpark. It was CD, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson was there. Jalen Reagor was a little bit lower. But a lot of those first-round rookie wide receivers, I think Ruggs was in that ballpark as well. Of all the first-round rookies, I can't imagine taking any of the other guys over CeeDee Lamb. If I'm taking a shot on one of them, I'm going with the one that I think is the most talented in CeeDee Lamb in the best offense. The Jeudy is close in talent, but in that Denver Broncos offense, there's not going to be as much volume.
Right.
He will be probably the clear-cut two, but you still have Sutton, Hamler, Fant. So for me, I love CeeDee Lamb as an upside play this season. And I'm probably going to be snagging him in a lot of drafts.
The only other name that I would look at in terms of the rookie wide receivers in redraft, there's actually two of them. One I actually considered putting as one of my deep shots of the year. This might be one I actually kind of want to keep a secret here, but it is actually Laviska Shenault on the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver they brought in out of Colorado. But outside of that, I think Justin Jefferson would be the other rookie wide receiver. I'm sure we'll have plenty of shows where I'll talk about JJ because I'm all in on this guy.